Welcome to True Vine Talks with Linda and Rachel on our Saturday morning. Rain, fall. Feels good, don't it?
Yes, it does.
Mm-hmm.
Fall day.
So today we're going to talk about a topic that's very near and dear to us females in particular, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because I don't know what a male's experience is with, perfectionism.
Perfectionism.
Yes, is that our topic?
Yes.
All right, so what defines perfectionism? And do you have it?
I think I have some.
Okay.
A little bit. But yeah, so perfectionism to me is like always wanting to get it right, always wanting that 100% A plus, and if you're not able to achieve whatever your idea of perfect is, then you're a failure. Why bother? Just give up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm seeing this a lot.
Yeah. Are you seeing it with like your family members? You seeing it with working with your clients? Where do you see this showing up?
Yeah. So I have experience, for those listening, as a school counselor as well. So I see it some with family members. I see it in students a lot. And I see it with my clients here at True Vine as well.
Yeah. So we want to help people be, good with themselves, right? We want to help people to feel, feel confident in who they are without feeling the need to do more. Yeah. So so define perfectionism. Let's talk about the definition of being a perfectionist. Someone who cannot, they gotta have everything just so. They have to have their shoes polished. Everything needs to be ironed. The house has to be pristine before they leave. The bed made.
They're not allowed to make mistakes at work or school.
Yes.
It's unacceptable.
Right. Can't have a eyebrow. I have little eyebrow hairs flying right now.
Out of place. Yeah. No hair out of place.
Yeah, my hair. Yes, I love to just let my hair fly. Sometimes that's the middle child don't care syndrome. You're the oldest though, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah. Oldest. Okay, birth order. Just note to our listeners, if you are the firstborn, you will feel a need to be perfect. So that's an interesting part of birth order. Sometimes the oldest feels the need to keep everybody together, keep things in order, getting everybody in line, that kind of thing.
Yeah. What about youngest?
Youngest?
The babies of the family as well.
Yeah, I see some perfectionism showing up for them.
Mm-hmm.
So what's happening for them, do you think?
Are they comparing themselves to their older siblings and trying to be okay? That's what I thought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they're comparing. Oh my goodness, am I athletic enough? Am I smart as they are? Will mom and dad think I did a good job? Like Susie. Or I'm just making up names.
Whatever.
Yeah. I want to be as good or if not better, so I shine too. And then that goes back to some of that attachment stuff. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Do they see me?
Do I matter?
Oh, is anyone looking at me? Am I lovable? Am I good enough?
So I get concerned when I start to think that the perfectionism is based on that idea of if I'm not perfect, if I don't always get it right, only as long as I never make a mistake am I worthy and important.
Oh, you
See that coming up.
You see people having an inner dialogue like that, inner speech.
Yeah.
If I get everything right, I don't mess up, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'll be accepted. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whew.
If I don't get it right every single time, do I even matter? What's the point? I feel like that's a lot of stress to carry around all day long, every day.
Yeah, what does that do to the nervous system?
I imagine it's just it's tense and in fight or flight like all the time.
Yeah, as you were saying that, my body tensed up.
Yeah.
I got all tight in my gut and my chest and my arms, and I was like, ooh.
When your self-worth and importance is at risk.
Oh.
In every activity that you do.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Right? So if everything has to be perfect, how exhausting to your whole body and your mind and your soul that must be to live in that state.
Yeah. Just every second of every day, I'm proving myself worthy and important.
Man. So what's going to happen to this individual or any viewers or any listeners, not viewers, but listeners, if they're having an inner dialogue like, I can't make a mistake. I got to get everything right all day long in every area of my life.
Yeah, I talk about people of how they're, kind of setting themselves up for failure because nobody is perfect and everybody makes mistakes and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. But they're not hearing you when you say that.
No.
Ooh.
They don't ride, the waves of life. Like, oh, I'm having a good day. Today my best is like average. Today my best is like really, really awesome.
So how do you want to help people with that perfectionistic attitude about self? How do you want to help them with that?
I'd like to help folks get to a place where they have more confidence, better self-esteem.
Yeah. I'm sharing with Rachel this book on vulnerability that I was listening to, and it's really good. I highly recommend it. We did post it on Truvon's Facebook page there. Living in a culture of scarcity is what she talks about, and this shame-prone culture, and comparison and this disengagement. And I'm wondering if some of those things she's talking about is what your clients are experiencing, or people with perfectionism.
Can I share with them number 5 on the list?
Please.
Yeah, so Linda just handed me this list of notes that she's been taking from a book that she's listening to on Audible. And number 5 is, your value is not based on productivity and exhaustion. And I think that one is exactly what we're talking about today.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that with me.
You're welcome. Yes, I like to take notes as I listen to these. And let's give this girl her prop here, because that's very important. It's called The Power of Vulnerability, Teachings on Authenticity, Connection, and Courage by Brene Brown. She did a TED Talks and got a lot of viewers with that. And I highly recommend people to read that book, because I think that would help a lot in our self-talk about, and what you just said is, your value isn't based on how much you're producing and how, exhausted you are. So that's where we want to come from when helping people is, so where do you find your value, And a lot of times people will say, what do they usually say to you? What is their well, if I do, is it what they're doing or?
Well, I think I've talked to a wide range of people. So, like, if it's a kid in middle school or high school, it's probably going to be their grades. Am I in those advanced classes? Am I a straight A student? Am I setting myself up to get scholarships to go to the right college so that I can be the best doctor or surgeon, or they've got a high expectation for their career already in middle school.
In middle school,
guys, kids are stressed out and anxious.
Yeah, that's something we don't talk about.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so in this book, as I was listening, she says after 9/11, we have a culture of scarcity because we fear loss. We're all
Yes,
have
we
trauma.
do. Yes.
We fear loss.
Elementary level kids are fearing loss.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So as a culture, the kids today feel this sense of, oh my gosh, I could lose everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What if something happens to my mom? What if something happens to my dad? What if I never see my siblings again? What?
Yeah. And what is that about, though? Because we're the most successful country. Like, we have the most materialistic things, I think, recorded in history. Like materialism.
Yeah.
So, access to knowledge, access to people online across the world.
Yeah.
Yet we're living in this fear of loss. Isn't that a philosophical dilemma?
Yeah.
She talks about that in that book. So what's happening is, I think this access to all these other people in the world and the whole, reality TV stars based on, I don't know, just being a star, has created a comparison in our minds. We're always comparing to someone that's greater, better, smarter, more beautiful, more something. So the kids today, I'm a 90s kid.
Goodness.
I don't know if you grew up with, I don't remember how old you were, but did you
I
grow
didn't
up
have
with
social media
Okay.
until I was in college.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. I
So-
see. So I didn't grow up with Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. We didn't have social media. So I didn't compare myself to someone over in Germany or
Yeah, all these bloggers and
Yeah.
influencers, I think is what they're called.
influencers, YouTubers. Yeah. So I never knew that there was that many people I was competing against for, as Jordan Peterson says, as my little plot of land in this world.
Yeah, our circle was smaller.
Yeah.
And now their circle is like worldwide.
Global. Heck, if there's people on Mars, they're going to compare themselves to them. Those aliens up there. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
global now. Like, we're so globally comparing ourselves to each other that I think that's created a fear of loss or a fear of not having enough, not being enough, not worthy of enough,
Yeah, not being enough
not being enough.
is a big one.
Yeah. So how do we create more community connectedness and engagement for our young people so they're not feeling like this sense of, oh my gosh, I'll never measure up to that. I mean, look at her plastic lips. Oh my god. My lips aren't that big. How does she get lips like that? Oh, I gotta get a lip kit. Or something. Just always comparing yourself.
Yeah, it is always something.
It's like, our kids don't have access to plastic surgery if they don't like their nose. What? You deal with your nose.
Yeah.
Hey, so I think it's this whole I don't know. You tell me. Do you think it's the comparison stuff that creates this perfectionism within our young people?
I think it is the fact that they have this global comparison
Yeah.
at such an impressionable age developmentally. Like they're trying to figure out who they are, who they want to be, what are their values, what do they believe, what kind of person are they, while they're seeing, well, this is what the world wants, this is what's beautiful, this is what's popular, this is what, it's that struggle of my sense of self and fitting in. Because also developmentally, they're mostly concerned about people their same age. Right? Mom and dad's opinions still matter, but they're becoming less important in a sense. And I'm really worried about what my peers think about me.
Good insight. That's very accurate.
That's a lot going on, really.
Yeah, our young people are inundated with like all those messages, like you just said. What do my peers think? Where do I fit in this global world where there's internet and I can see how they live over in, Italy or, I have clients that really feel a connectedness to YouTubers that are not even, that are thousands of miles away. And I'm like, oh my goodness, how neat is that you feel connectedness to a YouTuber that you've never even met?
Yeah.
And that's positive, and it might create a sense of, wow, I don't have the same access to what they have. So then they start comparing and feeling, like
internal conflict.
Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting. So we're just sort of processing right now. This is kind of what Rachel and I do during supervision. We kind of process what's happening for, you as a listener when you think about, oh my goodness, where do I fit in this big global world? Am I measuring up? Am I good enough? Yeah.
All right. So we've talked about the global aspect
Mm-hmm.
and having access to a lot of information. And we've talked about the sense of self-worth
Mm-hmm.
and how a lot of people feel that their worth is based on productivity and exhaustion.
Mm-hmm.
So the combination of these things are leading to a lot of perfectionism.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we, if folks out there are feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm a perfectionist, it's exhausting, how do I stop this?
Yeah.
And still be successful?
What is the key ingredient? And she talks about this in her book as well. So what are the key ingredients for kind of debunking your need to be perfect? How do we help an individual to lessen the pressure? How do we lessen the pressure in their minds?
Well, I'm always curious about how people can set like extremely high standards for themselves, but not have them for other people.
Yes, that's so true. Yeah.
Right? Like, okay, so are your coworkers and classmates and family and friends allowed to make a mistake every now and then and not get it right every single time? And well, yeah, sure. Okay, but you're not. This is not okay for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting.
Yeah, because their ego is telling them, I have to be perfect. It doesn't matter if they're not perfect. I have to be perfect.
Yeah.
This is who I have to be. So the self-talk of, there's no other option for me.
Okay.
So the pressure is on within. So how do we lessen that pressure in the mind?
So you just wrote self-acceptance and self-love.
Yeah. And that comes from her book as well, which, those are all things that, just in therapy, we're trying to create people to have flexibility in their thinking about self, their view of their self. And when I want to create flexibility, and if you're listening, if you want to be more gracious to yourself, you're going to have to do a lot of self-love and self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
Positive self-talk. Yeah. And if you feel a lot of shame, that's going to take away your ability to love yourself.
Oh, yeah.
So, and in couples therapy, I was taught with Kelly Burke that do not do an enactment based upon shame. And and now that I'm listening to this vulnerability, book, I'm like, oh, well, that makes sense. Because if I shame, I'm going to put up a shield.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to self-protect. I don't want you to see me. So I'm not going to have access to you. So there's no engagement.
Mm.
So it's an interesting concept that shame takes away the ability to connect.
Shame also isolates people.
And then they get into addiction.
Yeah. Or self-harm.
Self-harm. So when clients say, oh, I can't come this week, I'm like, yeah, you need to come. I don't need you isolating, because that's going to feed your sadness and self-loathing.
It really does.
Yeah.
And I've seen people go, like, it started out with perfectionism, leading to anxiety, leading to isolation, and now we're depressed.
Interesting. Yeah. So how do we help them self-love and self-accept? We do it.
We do it.
In therapy.
Can I explain how I do it? I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah. So, if you come to True Vine, Rachel has a very compassionate, open disposition persona. And I hope that I emulate some of those qualities that she has too. We want to make you feel welcome and accepted. And part of that is just being warm, towards others. And we also have this inner acceptance of ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Linda has this awesome way of, when I don't know the answer, she explains it, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's how it's done. That's what we did. One of those things that's almost too obvious. I'm overthinking.
Yeah. Aw, thanks.
Yeah.
So, in a session, we just, we want you to feel comfortable with who you are, because we're comfortable with who we are. And I'll do a little self-disclosure. Is that okay?
Always.
Cool.
As long as you're okay with it.
Yeah, it's our True Vine podcast, so we like to give you a little tidbit into our world, too. So when I was younger, I was a young teenager, like, we're talking about, and, perfectionism on the rise. Girls, getting, we're developing, we got to look a certain way. Our bodies need to be just so. My first experience with feeling body shamed, was an uncle of mine. Redneck. Okay. Not real empathic. He didn't have a lot of intellect, no fault of his own, no compassion. And I was a little teenage girl, just turned 12, and he looks at me and says, Linda, your hips are getting really big.
Oh.
Oh, thank you for your compassion. See what I'm talking about with Rachel? She's good. She's giving me compassion, and I love it. So that was the first moment I felt like there is something wrong with me.
Of course you did.
Yeah. And our young people, and I didn't have anyone to compare myself to other than the girls at school, and they were all developing hips too. I mean, we're all in the age where we're developing hips, and yeah, so I first felt, oh my goodness, I gotta get rid of these hips. Why do I have hips?
Because you're a woman, and one day you might have a baby, and you gotta.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh my goodness. So what's happening to that fragile ego in that moment when you're a kid and someone says something and it just sort of hits you in the gut? You're like, ooh, that's shattering. Now to the soon to be 40-year-old self, I would say, I'd have a few choice words for that uncle, wouldn't I? Right. But that little girl that you're counseling, or if the listeners here, if inside someone has said something to you and it like hit you in a way that was like, oh my gosh, I'm not good enough. You didn't even know you weren't good enough.
But now you do. It's all you can think about.
Yeah. You're like, oh my gosh, I gotta get rid of these hips. So I'd run 6 miles, get rid of the hips. Yeah. Do 1,000 jumping jacks, get rid of the hips. So, you're like trying to meet this, and you don't even know what it is. What's wrong with hips? I didn't know there was something wrong with hips. So someone can bring to a person's attention a flaw that they didn't even know they had by using shame.
Yeah.
What do you think of that with working with, young people?
Yeah, what kids hear and see has a huge impact on the way that they think about themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we meet them where they're at with unconditional positive regard.
Yeah. And we don't want to ever devalue their experience. So if someone had said to me, oh, Linda, you have great hips. You look great. Those are awesome hips. That wouldn't have
Doesn't matter.
It wouldn't have mattered because it already had made me feel shame about, he was saying there's something wrong with me. And I didn't even know there was. So that was still stuck with me. What I needed someone to say was, yeah, that sucks that, he said that to you, and you do have that developmental stage, but you're changing and transforming, and I had to go through that too, and one day you'll be a grown woman and you'll look great. You just needed someone to validate where you were, validate that experience of feeling shame. Gosh, you do feel kind of not great about yourself right now. That's kind of normal.
Totally.
And he was a dipwit for saying something like that to an impressionable young lady. So, your words do matter in talking to people, and that's another part of our culture that's we just say whatever on social media.
Yeah.
And we don't just attack someone's beliefs. Now they attack their physical appearances, and
people are very impulsive.
Yes.
When they can just type something up and send it out into the world. Yeah.
And they're not thinking, how's this going to land on this little young lady? How's what I'm saying? Or, if, you're in a classroom and some girl checks your shoes and says, well, those shoes didn't come from this place. I mean, they don't, of course they're a teenager. They don't know now they haven't developed empathy. They don't develop that till their 30s. People, late 20s, early 30s, empathy doesn't get developed. I now know that. But, so teens will say things like that. Okay? But adults should have the know-how and the impulse control to stop self and say, how's that going to land on them? What's going to happen if I say this to them?
Yeah.
You know, the worst is when I hear parents tell their kids that, you know, you need to lose weight or you don't look good. What are you saying to your kid? How could you say that to your kid? Don't say that. Don't tell your kid they're fat.
No.
Please don't tell your kid they're fat. Now, if they're getting unhealthy, you might say, "Hey, let's go for a walk. Hey, here's some salad, and Mom likes to eat it like this." You know, do it with them. Don't shame them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shame takes away the ability to connect or engage and creates what you said, and say it again, was depression.
Oh, perfectionism, anxiety, isolation, depression.
Good job. I love that. Very well stated. Very well stated.
Thanks.
Yeah. So how do we help people with this perfectionism?
Yeah. Help them find a way towards self-acceptance and self-love.
Mm-hmm. And in session, you know, what is self-discovery? I mean, you know, in the Neuro Wisdom book with Waldman I read, you know, we want to ask people, what is it you're passionate about? You know, when you were little, what did you go towards? What brought you joy? I mean, real joy. I'm not talking about you going through the motions on the playground because everybody else is on the teeter-totter. You get on the teeter-totter. No. Were you kicking a ball? Were you playing in the water? What were you doing?
Yeah. A lot of people struggle with, this is who I want to be, but this is who I am, and this is what I'm comfortable with, and this is what brings me joy. And maybe they're not the same things.
Good. So you start engaging in self-discovery with, you know, your client, or if you're a listener right now, you might do a little self-discovery. I recommend doing like an intuition board. You can look that up on the Google, and that's in the Neuro Wisdom book too.
Nice.
An intuition board asks those deeper questions. What do you enjoy doing? What movie stuck out to you? And what character in that movie did you resonate with? How come you liked that character? And you find out some qualities and characteristics. Were they brave? Were they honest? Were they adventurous? You know, what are those characteristics that you resonate with? And that self-discovery, they're like, oh my goodness, I'm more an outdoorsy person, or I just kind of like, you know, being alone a little bit and learning on my own. Cool. Then do that. You don't have to be at the party on Friday night and post it out there in the Facebook world or whatever just to be like others. Be who you are. You think that would help with some self?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
How come?
Well, I think, and I apologize to those listening that I keep going back to kids.
No, she works a lot with kids. Yeah.
So, I mean, every kid's like, of course every kid wants to be popular. You know, they want to be popular. They want to be liked. They want to be accepted. You know, but maybe you're not comfortable in the popular group. Maybe that's not who you are. Maybe you're one of the nerds. And that's okay. Maybe you would be happy on the debate team or student government or, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
I always encourage kids to like join a club or a sport. If that, you know, if they're athletic, join a sport. If they're not, a club, extracurricular activity, group. You know, play around and find your tribe.
Yes, she talks about that too. That's
Yeah.
so good. Find your tribe. Yeah, maybe it isn't, you know, the popular group, whatever they are today. I don't know what they entail. Maybe it's being a social media superstar.
Maybe.
Who cares? Anybody can be a social media superstar today. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess. So, you know, what Rachel's saying is true. If you're a listener, go try a yoga class.
Yeah.
Put your kid in a travel soccer team. Put your kid in an art class up here. There's an art studio up here. There's a writing class up here. Maybe you enjoy writing. Hey, maybe you're musical.
I was just gonna say piano, guitar.
Yeah, I tried that guitar once. Have you ever tried to play guitar?
I tried to get my sister to teach me how to play, and I took 2 strums and broke her strings.
Way to go, Rachel.
So upset and had to change up. I was like, I'm sorry. So I am not musically inclined.
Yes. The guitar is a hard thing to play, and when I see people play it, I could never, my fingers are short, I have petite hands, and I could never get my fingers to go in the right place. And it's like, who could do this? People with longer fingers, and so just try to find what your talent is and what you're good at doing, and don't stop just because that didn't work. Join a dance class. If you don't like that, you don't like frillies and ballet, do a hip hop class. If you don't like that, scratch that, join a chess club. Yeah, go golfing.
Oh, yeah, tons of things. Life is too short to be unhappy, and the longer you try to deny your authentic self, the unhappier you're going to be.
Well stated. Yeah, so here at True Vine, how do we help our clients find their authentic, true self?
We get to know them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We accept them, and we help them accept themselves.
Yeah. And, you and I have done the playground activity. Is the playground represents your life.
Yeah.
And what do you want on your playground? And people will say, well, I'd like to have my friends there. I'd like to have church there. I'd like to have, athleticism there. I value honesty. What do you not want in your playground? Well, I don't want, mean people. All right, so don't let mean people in your life.
Yep.
Be your authentic self and be unapologetic. Be unapologetic for your true self.
Yes.
When I feel people criticizing me in my engagements, like say family members, that especially females, they have a lot of body shaming happening. I'm always like, what is that? Why is that a focus? Let's get off that. Let's be our true selves and not focus so much on what we're not.
Mm-hmm. Who's a good example of that? Who's a celebrity that's just out there, just being unapologetically them?
I think Adam Lambert.
Okay.
Have you watched him from American Idol?
I don't know.
I love Adam Lambert. That guy can sing anything. He went on tour with Queen.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he's been very successful, and he's just unapologetic for his sexual identity. He's unapologetic for his style, and I think Prince.
Oh, that's a good one.
Was unapologetic for his style and his, he was just a very androgynous individual, and I just found him to be super cool.
Yeah.
I think Ellen has done a good job of that.
Yes.
She's so... Yeah, what do you think about Ellen? Yeah, she's great.
I just do. I think she is who she is,
mm-hmm.
and she's okay if people are upset by that.
Mm-hmm. And she's kind to everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, she is. I love that. Who else can you think of that's sort of unapologetic for who they are? They're being their true self, authentic.
I'm having a hard time thinking of people, but you came up with good ones.
Yeah. Michael Jordan, I don't think he's apologetic for being a successful NBA player. Tiger Woods, I think he had to overcome a lot of his battles with his shame. that he experienced. I think he's talented, and he had to go into some self-acceptance and self-love after all that came out about his struggles. So I think now he's, being his true self. So it's important that, like you just said, Rachel, life is so short, and if I'm always comparing and, feeling bad about not being, an A+ student or the best soccer player on the team or the best cheerleader,
or the best at whatever your job, career is.
Yeah. Although I long to be the best.
I do too. It's okay to long to be the best, But I also think that you and I sometimes, maybe a session doesn't go exactly the way we wanted. I think that happens a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I think we just reflect on, okay, how can I do better next time? Not, oh, that was terrible, I'm a horrible counselor, I'll never get it. I don't think we downward spiral.
Exactly.
Like my worth and importance as a person is not hanging on
one session.
Every session going right.
Good.
And having an amazing breakthrough. Because that's not always happening.
You're so right, Rachel. You're sitting there going, you're beating your head against the wall going, why? What is the block here? Why can't I help the client move? And why can't I help the couple, connect? What's happening? What's the block? And how come I didn't say this at the right time? I want to get it right.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
We get into that. And then after the session, like you just said, we just say, I'm going to reflect on what I didn't get just right. And maybe next time I will help them and be vulnerable about that. Hey guys, I don't feel like, in the last session that I think I was missing something, and I want to go back to that.
Yeah. And being totally honest about that.
Yeah,
I'm totally
transparent.
okay with saying, I missed something last time, or I'm confused about something. Can you explain what's happening for you when you talk about this?
Yeah.
I think that's what makes True Vine special.
Aw, yeah. Is that we can be real.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we do a lot of our own self-acceptance and be vulnerable about where we're at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I always feel that, if I'm stuck or struggling with an issue, that I can come to you and you'll help me kind of process and work through it. Like, well, Rachel, how are you feeling in there? And are you taking care of yourself? And all of that stuff that helps.
Oh, good. I'm glad that happens. Yes. I'm glad that you made me aware that I do that for you. Yeah. So, we have to help each other. And I think in this book that she's talking about, just being more communal, more accepting and, of self and accepting of others. And just having that engagement. Feeling like I can be real with you. And, that's how we kind of combat that I got to be perfect, I got to get it all right all the time, is you got to get vulnerable, as an individual. And we'd like to help you with that. If you do struggle with some obsessive compulsive tendencies, inability to let go, and just self-love, we would like to help you with that, wouldn't we, Rachel?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us on our discussion about perfectionism. And if you are struggling with that, you can give us a call here at True Vine. And we appreciate our listeners every week and hope that this was a helpful dialogue. And thank you for, listening to us. And have a good weekend.
Bye, guys.
Bye.